This year's Caterham Vauxhall Challenge, round 1 at Silverstone, featuring a very interesting layout. The races either of 30 minutes duration or, as at Silverstone the first time, 2 sprint races accounting for the first round of the championship, allowing drivers more track time than any other one-make championship. Based on a Caterham with a 2-litre Vauxhall engine, 190 brake horsepower, 525 kilos, stripped to the bare minimum. As you can see, comprehensive safety protection, but just a tiny little aero screen as a wind deflector. And these cars look quick, and so they should do. They go like nobody's business. The red lights are on, they wait for the green, and away they go. And a good start from pole position man Nigel Taylor, 81 in the red car. Down by the pit wall he goes, but a much better start as they get up into the gears from Sean Balfe. Little collision further down the grid just behind our cameraman Simon Jackson, and that's pretty much the view you'd get from the opposite side of the car, the driver's car, the open wheels with their little cycle mud guards. What an exposed driving position it is, but once you're snug and low down in the cockpit with all that horsepower to play with, these cars really are great fun. Identical chassis, identical engines, controlled tyres. It's a very strictly controlled category to try and make sure that the drivers have as much fun for their money as possible, and that's always a feature of Caterham racing. Well, back up to the front, and Bart Hayden grabs the lead from Sean Balfe. There in the midfield, Clive Richards, car number 85. Oh, somebody's come to grief. Number 4, John Ingram, and the nose on his car damaged. He's run into somebody under braking, undoubtedly. Well, he's out of it, certainly. Oh, and so is the opponent as well. The right rear completely punctured. And as they come to the start-finish line, Bart Hayden leads it from John Grant. But the red lights are on, the red flags are out. The race will be stopped while the track is cleared there. The safety crew's there to check the drivers, make sure they're all okay. They both are. But a little bit more preparation work, I'm afraid, to make that as pristine as it was just half a lap ago. Once more, they're ready to go now for a slightly shorter race. And away they start. Making an equally good start from the front row of the grid once more. Number 7, Sean Balfe, guns it into the whole shot. John Grant from the second row moves into second place. And Nigel Taylor has got to work on these starts. You really don't want to lose places off the line. Peter Matthews, number 8. Now here is a very good view of the driver. Those little weather protection screens they've got on. And he makes contact with the back of the car ahead. Fumbling for gears in the 5-speed box. Through islands they come, he's alongside, oh dear, very close, and he makes contact for a second time and gets away with it. That's highly unusual in Caterham racing. Not that it's close, but that contact is actually survivable. These cars, as you can see, with the wheels sticking out the way they do, very susceptible to having them ripped off, as we saw a moment or two ago. Well, through go the leaders. Simon Jackson chasing them down under bridge. He's very over to the right-hand side. He's under pressure from somebody. He's really guarding the inside line. He's sacrificing the racing line, but to no avail. He's passed, coming out into the complex, and again, oh dear! The cars are so easy to lose under power. 190 horsepower in something that weighs less than a Mini. These are very potent machines indeed. Well, John Grant has really leapt away now. He's got 2 clear car lengths, and that is a lifetime in these machines. And then it's 3 abreast behind him. So everybody else is second. Getting the nod as they go into Copse is Bart Hayden. Whether that will last for long or not, we don't know. Somebody loses it under power. 67, Jason Dance. And 16, Bart Hayden leads it. John Grant second. Challenging him though in third place with the mudguard missing on the left rear. That is number 1, David Walton. And Walton lancing down under braking. Grabs second place, or does he? He's got the inside line. No. John Grant firmly shuts the door. So David Walton third. Sean Balfe in 4th position, and he is kicking up the dust, holding a very tight line through Luffield and out onto the straight they come, and look at that, David Walton there really trying to slipstream behind. These Caterhams are not the world's most aerodynamic devices, and if you can get into the hole in the air left by somebody else, as he's successfully done there, you can pull out and breeze past them on the straight. So John Grant down to third, up into second at the moment at least, David Walton, but there'll be words to be said about that in a moment. John Grant looking to come back at him. And still leading this one from the front, Bart Hayden. Well, number 7, Sean Balfe, under assault here. But the lead trio starting to break away a little bit. Nigel Taylor in 4th. Sean Balfe there in 6th. Fighting off Clive Richards, car number 85. And we're following that battle closely here with Simon Jackson. He's on this string of cars trying to get 6th position. Better line through bridge this time, not quite so defensive. He's on the attack, tight to the inside on the first left-hander at Brooklands. There's poleman Nigel Taylor leading this struggling battle. Right behind him, Edward Horner, number 20. And Horner tries to get alongside this long right-hand 180-degree Luffield turn, and Nigel Taylor gets it crossed up, but it comes back to him. He loses the place, but doesn't lose control. Sean Balfe watching right behind, and they spread to opposite sides of the track, and Nigel Taylor goes the right way. He comes back in 4th place. Down to 5th again goes Edward Horner. So the 2 front row men not doing as their qualifying times would have suggested, and another place picked up by David Walton. Superb on the brakes. Walton grabs the lead, and a good drive up through the field. He's having only qualified 7th quickest, but he can really handle his car in these conditions. Now they're going to come back at him, rest assured of that. Bart Hayden and John Grant won't take this lying down. Hayden, 2nd place, there he is on the right hand of the picture. Grant close behind him, and they're chasing the leader. So across the line they go to start another lap. And behind them, watch, there's a slipstreaming battle up by the pit wall. Our cameraman, 11, Simon Jackson, being attacked by Rob Mears, number 5. Doesn't manage to use the toe to get past. But trying to do that on the run down to Maggots and Beckett's is Bart Hayden, the erstwhile race leader, number 16. David Walton doesn't allow him to get past. So Walton clearly quick enough to lead this race on merit. And here is Simon Jackson, number 11, picks up another place. Somebody slow up through the gears there as they came out of the island curves. Now this is a tricky one, turning left, hard on the brakes, much harder on the brakes, just squeezing on the power now, avoiding the high curb on the outside and accelerating hard up through the gears. All 190 horsepower of this 2-litre 16-valve Vauxhall engine hurling you towards bridge. Down, compressing hard on the springs, and then braking hard. He's concentrating entirely on the car ahead now. He's not worried about anything behind. A very aggressive line into the complex. Priory, then Brooklands, and the car ahead wagging its tail under power. He's going to have to go wide into this long right-hander at Luffield. Understeer, and then as the power comes in, starting to drift the tail over the curbs, accelerating hard. 3rd gear, 4th gear, and then as they cross the line up to 5th gear, now he's in the tow. Now he's picking up speed, courtesy of the car ahead. He pulls out and slipstreams up towards the corner. Down onto the brakes they come. Down a gear, down another gear, understeering onto the power. Sliding the tail and snicking it up another gear as he accelerates away. Perfect line into Copse, but he ran wide, and coming back past him again is his rival. David Walton fighting with the car under braking. These machines are so close in terms of speed and performance. The drivers have to use a standard kit. They're only allowed one choice of different setup, and that regards springs. And then everything down to that is really playing with tyre pressures and driving ability. Well, Sean Balfe makes a mess of it under braking. Around the outside of him went Clive Richards, and so too, hopefully, for him at least, will go Simon Jackson. Our cameraman now chasing Balfe. And Again, just that touch of understeer as he turns in, then gets on the power and balances the car. These are such drivers' cars. Well, here they come then. 7 cars, nose to tail, into the final 2 corners. Now they've got 1 corner left. David Walton has the advantage, but look, Bart Hayden getting onto the power early. He's really pushing out of the corner here, and this is just a straight drag race. David Walton has it. Bart Hayden in the tow. Can he pop out and grab it on the line? The checkered flag falls. No! David Walton wins it by a fraction, 0.08 of a second from Bart Hayden. John Grant gets third from Edward Horner, Sean Balfe and our cameraman Simon Jackson. Well, a fantastic result, a second and a half covering the top 7, and there is the delighted winner, David Walton. What a race. David Walton on pole position in car number 1. And alongside him, Bart Hayden, who he beat by 0.08 of a second in the previous afternoon's race. Well, we're riding with Peter Matthews. He's qualified mid-grid, rushing down to the first corner. And let's hope that there are none of those telltale tyre spoke puffs. Oh, dear! Well, there you are. There is the commentator's curse as he runs over the back of the car ahead, just getting onto the brakes too late in the first corner traffic jam. No problems for David Walton. Bart Hayden got a good start, but not quite good enough to take the lead from him, going on the run down to the first corner. So Walton leads it, Hayden in second place. In third place, 20, Edward Horner, but that could all change. It does indeed. Horner loses 2 places in the corner. Coming out third is John Grant, and oh dear, onto the grass goes 18, Hugh Hayden. Well, you didn't want to do that, Hugh. Back with our cameraman, Simon Jackson, a familiar scene at Bridge. And a spot of water on the lens. Hopefully that's not the sign of rain, because these cars have come out expecting a dry race. The drivers will be a little bit put off if it starts to rain. Then the tail-happy nature of these ultra-powerful cars becomes even more so. Well, Bart Hayden got it wrong there going into Luffield, and up the inside goes Edward Horner. Horner takes second. Hayden comes off the corner slowly, and looking to open the door for himself is John Grant. Grant will come alongside on the rush down to Copse. Can he pick up a place? Grant up by the pit wall. He does. Grant goes into third. Down to fourth goes Bart Hayden. So 1 missed apex there in the slow corners in the complex, and down 2 places he goes. It's as close as that. Well, Saturday's race, the top 7 were all together at the line, covered by a second and a half, and it looks as though we're shaping up for a similar battle here as well. Simon Jackson, number 11, at the tail end of this string. And again, giving us some great pictures as they rush through the island curves on this international circuit here at Silverstone, trying to go around the long way and then take the inside line at the hairpin under braking, successfully grabbing the lead. Edward Horner, number 20, down to second goes David Walton, the Saturday race winner. Still with Jackson, he's very close indeed. Is he going to try and move under bridge? That'll be edge of the seat stuff for him and us. He doesn't, but lancing back into the lead goes David Walton. Will he run wide? He does. Will he hold on? He does so far. Under braking again. Priory, then into Brooklands, and now hugging the curb around the last third of this long right-hander. Aiming for the exit, gunning the engine. 190 brake horsepower in these 500 kilo cars, and that equates to something around 350 brake horsepower in a standard 2-litre family saloon like the Vauxhall Cavalier that these engines come from, and every single ounce of that power being used by Edward Horner on the straight there to scythe back up into the lead. And that wasn't the only position change either. It's fast and frantic behind them. Sean Balfe, number 7, has leapfrogged up the order. He's now third and trying to challenge David Walton for second. There's our cameraman, Simon Jackson, number 11. It's all happening right in front of him, and he's got a queue of cars behind waiting to take advantage of the slightest slip on his behalf. Well, here's where Walton lost the lead. He won't get it back on that line, but he might lose seconds. No, he holds second. Sean Balfe third, under pressure from Bart Hayden. And then number 9, John Grant, right ahead of us. Simon Jackson trying to make himself known in this little group as Bart Hayden loses another 2 places. He's really sliding down the order. Jackson goes inside him. Jackson's got it, up into 6th he goes. Bart Hayden down to 7th. Jackson very defensive now, hugging the curbs, using all the road as he's entitled to do to guard his place. He's trying to hold on to 6th, but he's looking at getting his nose inside the car ahead for 5th as well. This is fantastic stuff. Simon Jackson rushing up towards the line. Again in the slipstream, in that hole in the air that's been very thoughtfully created for him by Clive Richards in 85. They're side by side. Richards hits the brake pedal earlier. Jackson going in very quickly indeed. Will he be able to hold it? He does. He's got plenty of road there, exiting Copse. It's all go in the midfield, but it's all go at the front as well. Where does Walton find the speed? He comes flying past into the braking area, somehow holds it into the corner. Walton leads, Balfe now in 2nd, 3rd now for Edward Horner, and right behind them again, John Grant. 4 cars, you could throw a blanket and they'd all be blinded by it. Down under braking once more, Walton is challenged. Sean Balfe holds it in 2nd, but up to 3rd now goes number 9, John Grant. And in 5th place, chasing down this lead battle, and they're helping him by slowing each other up with their aggressive driving. It's our man Simon Jackson. Let's hope he can get involved and give us some fantastic pictures from the middle of this 4-car lead battle. Well, he has caught them. He's joined up with the breakaway group. It's a 5-car lead battle, but it's more than that because there's 3 behind him. It's now an 8-car, it's a 10-car lead battle, in fact. It's a fantastic race. Well, there is Grant ahead. He's using a very tight line, almost brushing the metal barriers that guard the pit wall as he uses the tightest line to get the fastest speed down the straight. And now, bursting out of the drag, comes Sean Balfe, and he hurls into the lead. Look at that. There is the aerodynamic effect. He just picks up another 500 revs or so on the straight and cannoned past David Walton. But Walton comes back at him. More controlled under braking going in, and with better speed coming out of the corner. That change of lead was short-lived. Back ahead goes Walton, and a superb move. Edward Horner, very, very opportunist under brakes. Now Balfe is pushing him along the straight, trying to get him to go quicker through island curves. Now Balfe comes alongside, and alongside him is Simon Jackson. So Jackson going for 3rd. He's got 3rd. He's now going for 2nd. He hasn't got 2nd. He may be losing 3rd here as well. Side by side they come. Just out of our sight on the right-hand side is number 7, Sean Balfe. Jackson's got the place. He's too close to the curve to allow Balfe room, so he's shut the door on him very firmly through bridge. Jackson to 3rd now. And this race order seesawing around. Even David Walton, the leader, hasn't had it all his own way. Power sliding now, swinging one way to the other. Up into 3rd, feathering the throttle, feeding in the power. He's just balancing it like a rally car in a classic sideways drift. And there, right behind him, is Sean Balfe. So Walton now, Walton with maybe a 2 or 3 car lead. That's an enormous gap by this race's standards. Horner 2nd, and through into 3rd place goes Sean Balfe. So Simon Jackson slips to 4th. What can he do about it? They rush out of Copse. Over, tight to the left-hand side. And then as you crest the brow, turning sharp up to the curb, braking, very defensive. Excellent piece of driving by Jackson. Very defensive, middle of the road line there, denying Balfe the chance to go left or right. Not ideal in terms of outright speed into or out of the corner, but at least he kept the place. David Walton now starting to make a break. Could this be the deciding factor in the race? The battle behind him though. Edward Horner in 2nd, just ahead of this scrapping triumvirate. Well, Jackson, Balfe, and waiting for it all to fall into his lap, Bart Hayden. This is just fantastic stuff. So the last lap, the last sequence of corners here, and he runs wide. Jackson could have blown it. Surely Balfe will go through the inside. He does. Jackson gunning the throttle, trying to find a way back. He's just got this one long right-hander now, and it looks as though he may have lost 3rd place for good. I don't think Simon Jackson will have enough drive off the corner. He doesn't. David Walton does though. David Walton wins it. In 2nd place is Horner. A fantastic result for Edward Horner. Sean Balfe 3rd, Simon Jackson 4th place, just holding off Bart Hayden. And what a result. A fantastic race again from the Caterham Vauxhalls. Here we are at Snetterton for the third round of the Caterham Vauxhall Challenge, another of the 30-minute sprint races. Sean Balfe on pole position has been a front runner during the season so far. Alongside him in car number 20, Edward Horner. Bart Hayden starts third on the grid, and he too has been in the action from the start. And Clive Richards, number 85, lines up on fourth. Well, a brisk and blustery day, but the track should dry quickly. The green lights are on, away they go. Our cameraman Mark Humphrey on the outside of the third row, and a slow start from him, but trouble in the pack. Contact. 11, that's Simon Jackson, and number 5, Rob Mears, who started 3 places behind him. Well, Mears is out of the car and out of the race. Jackson continues. Now with Ross Maxwell. This very slick conditions, and the drivers are going to have to be very careful indeed. With 190 brake horsepower in this 500 and odd kilo chassis, they have got far more power than the tyres can handle in these conditions, and judicious use of the throttle is vital. Clive Richards leads them. He was third on the grid, so a good start from him. 16 there, very low down the order. Bart Hayden, and Mark Humphrey is right behind him. He's our cameraman, and you can see the water being thrown up by the tyres despite those little cycle mud guards. The driver's visors will be covered in water as well. A challenge for second place, and successful one. Edward Horner picks up second. Sliding out of the chicane comes Richards, the leader. Then Horner, then Sean Balfe in third place. With Ross Maxwell again. Here we are just inside the top 10, and there you go, a classic sign of impetuosity with the throttle, just a little bit too much coming out of the chicane, and around he went. Well, no damage done, so he should rejoin. Here's our lead trio then, Richards and Horner in second place. First view down the Caterham bonnet, this would be how it would look if you were in a left-hand drive version. This is pretty much driver's eye line. You can see the wheels moving up and down there right in front of you. Makes it perfect for judging the apexes. Also makes it feel very exposed when it all goes wrong, believe me. Mark Humphrey now. And watch him apply the opposite lock there as he's just feeding in the throttle oh so gently. Well, Simon Jackson still in it. He was battling there with Ian Rolls right towards the tail of the field. And here's Sean Balfe. Well, Balfe will need to pick up a few positions if he can in this race. Neil Delargy there following them through. The high-intensity rear light aglow. Oh, and somebody's over the curbs. Dear, oh dear. And no doubt about that collision. Well, who gets going out of that? 15. That's Christopher Kirby. Somebody else caught up in that as well, but Simon Jackson, I think, left stranded in the chicane. And the black and yellow flag comes out. There is Jackson's car. Well, he had that collision at the start, and it's even more battered now. The black and yellow flag means keep on going round, pretend there's a pace car out front, don't race. So we now have Mark Humphrey chasing the lead pack. He's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th at the moment. So we've got the top 6 right in front of us, ready for the restart. And the green flag is out, so they're racing again. Clive Richards leads them, but a challenge around the outside from Edward Horner. That's very brave indeed. Will he hold on? Richards has the tighter inside line, chops back across in front of Horner. On the brakes, change down. And now accelerating hard onto Revitt Straight. And they really are revving the nuts off these Vauxhall 2-litre 16-valve engines. Just a shade under 200 brake horsepower from these cars. In a car that weighs slightly less than half the weight of a Mini. So now you can imagine just how lively they are under acceleration. And superb under braking as well. The lightweight really makes them so controllable. But you do have to know what you're about. And some great shots here of this battle for the lead. So close, he's almost leaving rubber on the paintwork of the car ahead. Third place is John Grant, number 9, but all interest on this battle for the lead, and Horner makes a mistake, goes into the chicane slowly. Grant under pressure now because he had to back off as well. Sean Balfe is coming back towards them. And number 16, Bart Hayden, trying to get in on the act, gets past Balfe. Hayden 5th then, Balfe in 6th position. So here's our leader, Clive Richards. 2nd place is Edward Horner, and then 3rd, this tight battle between 9 John Grant and 1 David Walton. They're side by side. Well, Walton is side by side with 3 other drivers, and Walton got buried there on the straight. Absolutely swamped, lost at least 3 places. So 3rd place now is John Grant, 4th is 16 Bart Hayden in that bright orange car, and then 5th position, I think, still Sean Balfe, unless they've changed places in the last 100 or yards or so. Richards, Horner, through they go, and there is David Walton. He was absolutely swamped there. Nigel Taylor behind him in 81, and Taylor's had a little bit of a touch with somebody. He's lost a rear mudguard, and making up the tail end there, Paul Kite, 17, then 88 Jack Newland. That puts him in about 9th place. So here they come again, side by side down the straight. This is brave, he's not looking over. Superb bit of confident driving by Clive Richards. Edward Horner is trying everything here to get past him. So Richards 1st, Horner 2nd, John Grant in 4th place now, just behind Bart Hayden. That's where Hayden qualified on the grid. 5th is Sean Balfe in 7, and those 5 are breaking away because number 1, David Walton, seems to be holding everybody else up in 6th position. Well, I'm sure that's not the way he's seeing it. He's defending valiantly, and they're all swarming all over the back of him. Clive Richards now with a moment's breathing space, but not for long, I'm sure, because Edward Horner shadows his every move. And then Balfe with those 2 behind him, and now look at this, Walton is passed. Mark Humphrey goes by him, car number 2. And here again, Edward Horner. Well, we've seen him get so close to the leader before. He's tried the inside several times. He's looking at the outside. Will he have enough speed to come around the outside? Down they come. Richards has been brave on the brakes on the outside. He's brave on the brakes on the inside as well. And still no change for the lead. Well, what does Horner have to do? Short of actually pushing him out of the way, there seems to be very little that he can do at the moment. So Richards driving by the seat of his pants in these conditions, really exerting a hold over this lead. Now a chance, under braking, a very brave lunge, he gets it! The change of lead there from the camera position. Edward Horner summons up all his courage, heart in his mouth, and he gets by, but not for long, I don't think. Clive Richards was unfazed by all that. Maybe held up a little bit though, because Bart Hayden was trying to get in on the act as well. Bart Hayden making it 3 abreast along the straight. And is that John Grant trying to pick up 3rd? Yes it is, and he does so. Wow, oh, very wayward, using every inch of the road and a few yards of grass as well. Mark Humphrey, well, that will have dropped him back a little bit. If we could adjust the mirrors, we would have seen that he is under pressure. If you lose momentum like that, everybody swarms past you. David Walton going around the outside. As we saw Walton losing positions like that before, in contact in 2nd place. Oh dear. This is very tight action indeed. Bart Hayden moves up. He's 3rd now. 4th is Sean Balfe. Now down to 5th place, John Grant. Well, Edward Horner survived that, not by much. And Clive Richards, for a moment there, has got a little bit of breathing space. So, to recap, Richards leads, everyone else in 2nd. At the moment, they're headed by Edward Horner. Then Sean Balfe in the orange car in 3rd. Now, following Walton, we're with Mark Humphrey, and he's using an awful lot of road again, seems to be using more than anyone else. Now look, another challenge for 2nd from Bart Hayden. Hayden holds on, he gets second, but Sean Balfe doesn't manage to move up into third because the door is shut very firmly indeed by Edward Horner. All over the grass goes Sean Balfe in number 7. Well, he doesn't seem to have lost any momentum. If he had, I'm sure that John Grant would have been right with him. Now then, Bart Hayden, number 16, right ahead of us and lunging down the inside. Will he get the gears? Yes, he does. He gets onto the brakes and holds the position. Great move indeed by Edward Horner. So we saw Horner take the lead there. We've just seen him take second place back, but I don't think the battle is over yet. Horner hugs the inside. Bart Hayden going around the outside as Sean Balfe looks to find a way past as well, but he's really just as worried about John Grant. And this is meat and drink to Clive Richards. Everybody battling behind him, and he is just edging away from it all. Riding with Horner. Where are they? Where are they? They're coming around either side. Oh my goodness me. Bart Hayden and Sean Balfe both get past him. Well, up there into second place. What a flyer from Sean Balfe. Now Mark Humphrey's got his hand out in the cockpit. He's struck problems, and that sounded as if perhaps he couldn't get gears. Oh my goodness me! I can't believe the way that these guys are attacking each other. Edward Horner goes up into third place again. Down into fourth goes Bart Hayden. Fifth still is John Grant, and sixth David Walton. They don't seem quite to be able to get involved in this battle. Well, Sean Balfe in second, Edward Horner in third, Bart Hayden in fourth. And then it's Grant and Walton, fifth and sixth. Meanwhile, further down the order, Rupert Douglas Pennant leads Peter Matthews. Battles all over the racetrack here, none more so than out front. Sean Balfe fighting off Edward Horner still. Oh dear! And Walton's made another mistake, I think. Walton's dropped off the tail of number 9. So there is Grant fourth, and Walton is now sixth with Nigel Taylor ahead of him. And what on earth is Bart Hayden doing all the way back there? Well, Bart Hayden was ahead of all of them, so he must have been the man who made the biggest mistake. And he's got 17 Paul Kite right on his tail now, looking to pounce and pick up another position if Hayden makes another mistake. Well, through they go. There's Walton, car number 1. Still hovering around the tail of this group, and still side by side, perennially down the straight, are Edward Horner and Sean Balfe. Here's the battle for 10th. In 10th, number 10, and that's Ross Maxwell. Jack Hewland right behind him. In 88, we ride with Maxwell. What will we see coming up the inside? He's staying very wide, and sure enough, there goes Jack Newland. So a change for 10th, and it looks like maybe a change here. Well, Sean Balfe gets ahead. Oh dear, and Horner boxed out of it there, so Balfe goes by him. So too does John Grant. Horner down to 4th place. Then we've got Nigel Taylor, David Walton and Bart Hayden. And right on the tail there, Paul Kite. Well, Grant's looking to make up a place, not here at the chicane, I don't think, nor for Bart Hayden either. Horner holds on there as well. Nigel Taylor having a look around the back of his car. Grant 3rd, Horner 4th, Taylor 5th. And who's that weaving all over the road? It's David Walton. He's got past Bart Hayden and intends to stay past him this time. Hayden worrying now with Paul Kite right behind him. No sign at all of Clive Richards. He's a long, long way away. David Walton's not going to stay ahead of anybody if he keeps aiming off into the boondocks at every possible opportunity like that. Walton using far too much road for his own good. There is Nigel Taylor, Walton behind him, but still somehow, amazingly, ahead of Bart Hayden. And Walton's still on the grass. This time Hayden's alongside. And unless Walton's very sharp about it, Paul Kite will be as well. Well, he shuts the door vigorously. Little bit of bodywork awry on the front of John Grant's car. That won't bother him. There is Clive Richards, though. He is still going way out front. And here's the checkered flag. Richards wins it. and by quite some margin for a Caterham race, 5 seconds before the rest come over the line, led by Sean Balfe, then John Grant third, Edward Horner held on for fourth ahead of Taylor and Hayden. Well, that's the second win on the trot for Clive Richards. This one much easier than the last, it must be said, but he still only leads by the narrowest of margins from Sean Balfe and Bart Hayden. Castle Combe, a bright and sunny Sunday afternoon for round 6 of the Caterham Vauxhall Challenge. This series has been going since 1991, growing in popularity not just with the crowds, and you'll see why in a moment, but also with the drivers. 21 of them on the grid. The fastest qualifier was Bart Hayden. He's in the red car to the left of the picture, but number 1, David Walton, in his 100th Caterham race, goes from second to first as they get away from the line. Riding with Clive Richards, he was on the outside of row 4, qualified 8th quickest. Now they come up into Quarry, and it's always very, very close stuff on the first lap of a Caterham Vauxhall race. Everybody is second, no matter who's first. Again with Richards, looking to make a move as they rush down Farm Straight. Flat out right-hander at Old Paddock. Very, very quick indeed, these cars around here, and always very spectacular. On previous years' form, there should be no end of passing manoeuvres and no end of hairy moments for some of the drivers as well. Right, out of Tower Corner. Again, down the Westway, there's a right-hand kink. It becomes Dean Straight as they come down to the final corner. Camp. And moving around at the back there, number 20, Horner, looking for a way past the second place man, Bart Hayden. Looking back from David Walton's car. Walton also racing his classic Formula 3 car here at Combe. Oh dear, where's Hayden gone? Into Avon Rise, Hayden goes ahead. Very good acceleration out of Camp Corner, allows him just to breeze by on the straight even before they got to Avon. And collisions behind. Well, they didn't do it on the first lap, but they've done it subsequently. Somebody's lost a mudguard. In fairness, though, you barely need to touch them, and they come off. The cars are so lightly built, as they were back in 1959 when the first one was ever made by Colin Chapman, the Lotus 7 as it was then. Caterham cars have had the license to build these cars now for 20 years and continue to build them as fabulously exciting road cars. And as you can see here, as stunningly entertaining race cars as well. Number 5, Rob Mears, qualified 13th, just going down the inside of John Grant, who qualified 12th. And the front row men still hard at it. 16, Bart Hayden, 1, David Walton. Behind them is number 20, Edward Horner. And in 4th place, 11, Simon Jackson. No, I tell a lie, they've swapped. Jackson there, helpfully with Jackson written in very big letters across the back. Now, if we could just get him to write it on the windscreen so we can recognise him coming towards us, life would be so much simpler. Walton leads Hayden, Jackson third. 4th place is Horner. And those two men we saw earlier, 5 and 9, Mears and Grant, are working their way up this field very quickly indeed. These cars lapping just over 1 minute around this circuit, 1 minute 4, 1 minute 5. Qualifying lap, 1 minute 3.59 for pole position. And look how close it gets as well. Don't forget, these cars are not only open, but have open wheels effectively as well, because they stick out under those cycle mudguards. And the view there from Clive Richards' car, 85, there he goes through the picture right now. Very, very good idea of what it's like to ride in these cars. We ride again, hanging out the back of the leader's car, and again Bart Hayden goes past him, out of camp and down the start-finish straight. Jackson still third. Edward Horner 4th, but Sean Balfe comes alongside. The yellow rollover hoop on the dark green car there. Oh my goodness, Jackson's going for one as well, around the outside of Walton. Give them half a straight and they all fan out alongside just in case they can intimidate somebody into a mistake under braking. Doesn't often happen. You normally have to make the move stick yourself. Sean Balfe under pressure as well. Oh dear, that's very close indeed. Wheel to wheel stuff all the way through. Fantastic. Ride again with Clive Richards. Down towards the end of another lap, and here comes the lead battle, but look at this, it's a battle for second, because Walton has been displaced. Up into second goes Simon Jackson. Still, Bart Hayden leads it, number 16, and diving around the outside of the third place man as he tries to insinuate himself between first and second places. Oh, it's all going on here because Jackson now leads it. Can't even explain what's going on behind the battle for the lead because it's changing so quickly. So Jackson leads it. Second place is Hayden, maybe, just for the time being. Third is Walton, perhaps. Fourth now is Sean Balfe. So he's up to fourth. That means down to fifth must have gone Edward Horner, or at least out of fourth. Horner looked to be around fifth-ish, but don't trust me. It's changing as fast as you can make out what's going on. On the move still, there is number 9, John Grant, going around the outside of 85, our camera car, Clive Richards. Grant has got the dark blue car with a sort of yellow and white flash. Is this another change for the lead? No, it's not. Simon Jackson holds on. Looking back from Walton's car, number 7, Sean Balfe is right with us. Oh, she's very close indeed. Sean Balfe darting around behind David Walton. Again, Walton looks for a gap here. But it's Bart Hayden, the leader, under pressure. Down the inside comes Simon Jackson. Well, they were side by side for a moment, up to Avon Rice when he had the shorter left-hand line. Bart Hayden was the leader, but Jackson's back ahead again. Now, who's third? It's still Walton. Fourth is still Balfe. And again, they fan out down the straight. Fifth place is still number 20, Edward Horner. But on the move still is the number 9 car. John Grant really is starting to pick up places here. Sean Balfe, goodness me, very close indeed. And there is proof of it. There is the number 9 machine of John Grant, ahead now of Clive Richards and working his way up into a top 6 finishing position. Number 1, David Walton, battling hard for second position. Simon Jackson has a couple of car lengths advantage, and that's a lifetime in these cars. Bart Hayden going around the outside once more. He does like to go around the outside up towards Avon Rise. Walton's covered it. Jackson still leads. Walton still just about second, third place. Sean Balfe now. So Bart Hayden really lost out in that manoeuvre. Didn't work for him. And going for 6th position right around the outside was number 9, John Grant. Second place now for Sean Balfe. Walton couldn't defend against that one. John Grant now going for 5th position. Grant is absolutely flying. He is in 5th place. He's gone past number 20, Edward Horner. Horner third on the grid. Grant was 12th. Grant is having a fantastic race. He's in 5th position. He's closing down on 4th place. 4th place is Bart Hayden in the orange car. 3rd place still David Walton with the big yellow nose on his car. And number 17, Paul Kite, is now hanging around the back of Edward Horner. And our cameraman, Clive Richards, gives us a very good view. There is the white car of Kite, 17. There is Horner, the black car, just ahead of these 3. As they come down towards Quarry, big puff of dust. Jason Dance there, 67, and 18, Bart Hayden's dad, Hugh, getting tangled up. Here comes the leader, Bart Hayden still in 4th, Walton 3rd. 2nd place, right behind Jackson, is Sean Balfe. Sean Balfe alongside, he's going the long way around the outside, gets him under braking. Sean Balfe leads. So, how many leaders is that at this race? Just about everybody in the top 6 at the moment, with the exception of number 9, John Grant. There he is. He's 5th at the moment, just ahead of Edward Horner. Little lock-up from the number 1 machine as they go on to start another lap. And John Grant ever closer. Oh dear! Well, Edward Horner sheds a little bit of weight. Just that clipping moment there with Mark Humphrey in number 2. One of the mudguards comes off. No other damage done, I wouldn't have thought. Grant going around the outside of Walton. Walton's just making sure there's room for him. Very gentlemanly bit of driving. Walton knows all too well what would happen to his car as well, probably, were they to touch. Now then, since we've been away from the front for a moment or two, Sean Balfe, the leader, has become 3rd and is just about perhaps to become 4th, courtesy of John Grant. Bart Hayden has moved up to 2nd place again, and Simon Jackson is leading. I do wish they'd stay in the same positions just for a moment while we concentrate on someone else. Just outside the top 6, and Clive Richards has a mudguard tangling moment as well. So here come the leaders, and this time it's not Jackson that leads, it's Bart Hayden leads. Jackson is down to 3rd, up to 2nd is John Grant, and well, 3rd, 4th-ish is Sean Balfe. He appears to be 4th, but he won't be letting it lie like that for any longer than a moment. So Bart Hayden leads it. Through they all stream, and as you can see, midfield positions changing all over the place. 8 and 81, Peter Matthews and Nigel Taylor get together. Taylor's out, the 81 car. Only 15.5 minutes or so gone of this 30-minute race around Castle Combe. And that is going to leave me short of breath, and then short of bodywork as well at the rate they're going. Down to 3rd now goes Bart Hayden, number 9, bashes his way past. Hayden down to, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th position now. Oh, and more grass tracking. And he holds on to it, very well done indeed. Christopher Kirby, the white car, number 15, excellent stuff. It might be last, but who cares, he's still going. Jackson, he's lost a mudguard somewhere. 20, Edward Horner now up to 2nd. Grant is 4th. And that means our cameraman is 3rd, well he was 3rd, Clive Richards. Unbelievable race this is just stunning. John Grant came right back even as the words, he is 3rd, were coming out of my mouth about Clive Richards. Grant ahead of us, ahead of him is Horner, ahead of him is the leader, Jackson. So Richards 4th, coming down to finish another lap. Where's Walton? He's down in about 9th place behind Bart Hayden. Hayden's pulling off. Hayden is pulling off in the dying stages. Now that's a disappointment. So no last lap for Bart Hayden, but for everybody else it's all stops pulled out. Jackson leads, Grant 2nd, Horner 3rd. How long will it stay that way? All of them flapping bits of bodywork just about as Hayden bails out. Disconsolate indeed, I'm sure. 2 aside, 3 side by side. Oh, very strong move indeed by Edward Horner. A little on the brusque side to elbow Simon Jackson out of the lead. Jackson now in trouble with John Grant alongside him. Grant's got the inside line. Grant goes through. Horner, Grant, Jackson, everybody else in 4th. Sean Balfe is the leader of everybody else in 4th, and a rotation on the final corner of the final lap. Unbelievable. Number 5, Rob Mears, spins out. Oh, and he was on for a top 6 place, having qualified 13th. What a fantastic race he'd had. What a shame it ended that way. So that's how they finished. I couldn't possibly say it quick enough, I'm afraid.
You won't be taking the car around.
And a puncture for Jackson. What a shame. Well, there's the championship. Tight, I'd say. Brands Hatch bathed in sunshine as the Caterham Vauxhalls come to the grid for round 7 of the Caterham Vauxhall Challenge. On pole position, Sean Balfe, number 7. Alongside him, Edward Horner, number 20. Regular front runner, Bart Hayden, number 16, is 3rd. And 85, Clive Richards, 4th on the grid. So brilliant sunshine, brilliant cars. What more could a driver possibly ask for? Jason Dance gets away with our camera on board. Dance on the outside of row 6. Good run down, picks up 1 place, picks up 2 places, and then decides that's probably enough bravery for the first corner. Into the lead though, from the outside of the front row comes number 20. So as ever, the uphill start into Paddock Hill Bend really, although it's not the pole position, does give you a good run for your money, and so often we see the outside front row qualifier, as Edward Horner has done, take the lead into the first corner. Clive Richards followed him through from 4th on the grid, behind him on the outside of the second row. So pole position man did not do very well at all. Riding with John Grant, he is 4th now, started 5th. And a move for the lead. Well, it wasn't long before that came about. Clive Richard had followed for a lap, and so he thought it was about time to take the lead. Riding with Jason Dance as he holds a tight line at Paddock, but still gets past. Around the outside now goes John Grant. Grant trying to pick up third place, and he does it. So good move from John Grant. Passes Sean Balfe, number 7, the green and yellow machine. And now we ride in third place. Looking ahead of us at the second place man, Clive Richards, and he's closing quickly, isn't he, Dance? Well, the last race at Alton Park, he was by some margin the fastest man in the race. Really picked up positions very, very smartly indeed to work his way back into contention. And now as the leaders go side by side, he's just praying they'll touch, skid out of the way, and he'll be suddenly in the lead, but they don't. So Horner, Richards, and our camera car Grant, and this is a great view. Stay with him as he goes around the outside of Clive Richards. Richards has none of it. Oh, it all turns to tears. No, 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 no. Back on comes. Oh, and just gets out of the way. Goodness me. What a moment for Christopher Kirby, number 15, the novice. Well, 19 of 38 laps, and you would have thought he would have got the hang of it at that stage. Number 1, David Walton there in his distinctive black and yellow colours at the tail of this group. Let's look at the front of it though, because again Horner comes under threat from Richards. And Richards has got to that stage before but never quite got in far enough to be able to chop across Horner's nose. This time he does. This time he does. So a new leader. And we're with Damon Dance. And Dance losing all the places he made up with his great start. Richards is careful, gets his 200-odd brake horsepower of Vauxhall 16-valve motive force nicely balanced on the throttle as the car drifts out onto the start-finish straight. Horner second place, third place as we are now with John Grant. Grant running a little wide. Oh dear, Grant goes down one. Sean Balfe moves up. So that place swaps back again, changes hands once more. Grant can't find a way around the outside of Sean Balfe. And our cameraman there coming into the pits. And into retirement. What a shame. So Richards and Horner, and now Balfe in third. John Grant under pressure more than ever now. Jackson behind him and Walton behind him. And they are all very much looking for a position. John Grant defending hard. Nigel Taylor looking to the inside now in the red car. Couldn't get around the outside. Does he make it up the inside under braking? He does indeed. So Grant goes back another spot. Grant down to 5th now. This time 2 laps ago we were 3rd with him. Now we're running in 5th. So no change among the lead trio other than Sean Balfe getting ever closer, becoming more and more insistent. So too is Simon Jackson, so too is David Walton behind him on the tail of this string of 7. Simon Jackson, I feel now perhaps looking for a position. Richards from Horner, from Balfe. From 81, Nigel Taylor. And Jackson coming up the inside. Can Dance hold him off this time? Grant hold him off this time? No, he can't. John Grant loses another place there under braking at Druids. Now when he watches this video, he's going to have to go back to the car and look again at the braking areas. Look again perhaps at the car's braking performance, because he doesn't lack in straight line speed, doesn't lack in bravery and ability in handling, but he is being out-braked everywhere. David Walton has seen it done now on consecutive laps, and he is clearly thinking to himself, I'll have some of that action. David Walton doesn't need to use the brakes, he pulls alongside under power. And now on the inside line, sits there waiting for John Grant to brake first. We're riding with Grant. On our inside is number 1, David Walton. That's why we're so far from the apex. Somebody's spun there. That's none of the lead group, one of the tail enders sitting waiting for the others to run past him, because here comes our leader, Clive Richards, Edward Horner in second, Sean Balfe in third. Nigel Taylor fourth there, Simon Jackson fifth, David Walton sixth, and starting to drop away a little bit, John Grant. Well, maybe it's not a braking problem after all. Something slightly more fundamental under the bonnet, perhaps, because Grant is now starting to drop off the pace. Richards, Horner, Balfe, Taylor, Jackson, and Walton. Walton still sniffing around the back of the number 11 machine of Simon Jackson. Sean Balfe still sniffing around the back of the number 20 machine of Edward Horner, come to mention it. Clive Richards, although he has not been left alone here, has not had a sustained attack on his position for several laps. And he's starting to settle into his lead, I rather feel. Back marker goes through, then the leaders. Now, will this upset Clive Richards? Will this give a chance to Edward Horner or to Sean Balfe, or indeed to Nigel Taylor? It all depends really where Richards catches the back marker and when and how he's dealt with. Problems, I'm sure, for John Grant, because he's now been caught by Bart Hayden and Paul Kite, who were some way behind him. Bart Hayden not making the best of starts from third on the grid, it must be said. Well out of this top half dozen. Blue flags are waving as they're among the slower cars. Clive Richards, Edward Horner, Sean Balfe stream across the line. Edward Horner looking at the outside line. Sean Balfe getting a very good run indeed through paddock, but finds that there's just nowhere to go. Everywhere he looks, Horner's already thought of it and is looking there before him. Balfe up the inside of Horner, no way through there. Walton now has passed Jackson, so there's been a change. That must have been at paddock. David Walton passed Simon Jackson, and he's now haranguing Nigel Taylor for a spot. Taylor fourth, Walton fifth. Richards, Horner and Balfe, and then the red flash of Nigel Taylor's car. Pit boards hung out. Richards, Horner, Balfe. Balfe again unable to find a way to catch and pass Edward Horner. Let's hope he doesn't get too desperate. Nigel Taylor still fourth and David Walton right with him. So first, then second and third, then fourth and fifth, very close indeed, these pairing. And this is really where our next move is likely to come from, I would say. David Walton. Right, oh my goodness, right with Nigel Taylor under braking, and indeed just that little bit too close. Nigel Taylor there, stranded in the middle of the circuit as our man John Grant comes round. But Grant being outpowered, so Grant really does have a problem with his engine. The leader on his own, and increasingly so, Clive Richards. Sean Balfe attacking Edward Horner, and ditto, increasingly so. Sean Balfe can see that Clive Richards is getting away. He knows he could go quicker if he was ahead of Edward Horner, but how to effect that change? How will he get the number 20 car to make a mistake? How will he force Horner to leave the door open? Very tricky indeed. Horner proving again to be a cool customer under pressure, and it's all too late. Richards wins it, drag race for the line, but Balfe on the outside and coming from behind was never up to win that one. Edward Horner guards second by 0.03 of a second. So Clive Richards still leading the championship and extending his advantage by a smidgen over Sean Balfe. Round 8 of the Caterham Vauxhall Challenge at Donington Park in England. And we sit on the grid, ready for the green light. We're with Sean Balfe, number 7. He's qualified 6th on the grid, looking towards the right-hand side here as they rush down towards Redgate. A good, smooth start from Balfe. And a good start from the front of the field. The pole position man, the black car, number 20, Edward Horner. And a rather more tangled getaway there for a number of the drivers. 28, Rupert Douglas Pennant, reverses out of the gravel traps, but I'm afraid out of the race. Jack Hewland, Rob Mears and Chris Kirby. Oh dear! How did they miss him? Again, we ride with our cameraman Sean Balfe. He's right behind Grant's familiar blue car with the flashes as they try and dig the errant back markers out of the gravel. Oh dear, and there is Rupert Douglas Pennant. And some sorting out has been going on among the front runners. David Walton looking to pick up a place from Sean Balfe here. But the hand raised by the leader, he's seen something ahead. Now that'll undoubtedly be because of the problem down at Redgate. Oh dear, David Walton gets a little bit caught out, having to pull up short as the train suddenly slows down. Well, here is the camera view forward from Bart Hayden's car. He's 2nd at the moment, so thank you very much, Bart, for letting us know that. And there are the rescue crews, hard at work in the gravel as everybody else cruises round serenely. The pretend there's a pace car flags are being shown. And so the race temporarily suspended, although the laps do count as they continue round. Well, the tractor there to dig the last car out of the gravel, so hopefully it shouldn't be long before we are racing again. Around we come then to the start of the next lap. And Bart Hayden guns it out of the final corner. They're green, they're racing again. So Edward Horner leads, Bart Hayden in 2nd place. This is Sean Balfe, he's 6th at the moment. And diving down the inside goes David Walton. No more yellow flags to worry about, and Sean Balfe using all the curbing and a lot of the grass to try and give Walton room and avoid being collected. So Horner leads, Hayden 2nd, 3rd is Nigel Taylor, 4th Simon Jackson, 5th number 9 John Grant, 6th now. Still Sean Balfe, David Walton right with him though. Walton very nearly ahead last time. Edward Horner, despite his shotgun getaway, his lead being cut back, of course, by that semi-pace car style incident. Sean Balfe still fighting away at the back of this group. John Grant holding on there, and Sean Balfe again riding the curbs. Not looking quite so desperately in the mirrors this time, because he can see exactly where David Walton is. Walton's ahead and he's going to hold it under braking. No, he's not. David Walton outbrakes himself in the most comprehensive manner and manageable. Goes straight on and has to turn back and rejoin, and that has cost him many places. What a shame for David Walton. And Sean Balfe locks up, runs wide, understeer, understeer, understeer. Finally the power comes in and it starts to slide again, but by that stage he's been passed. John Ingram, number 4, is past Sean Balfe. So Sean Balfe benefited from a mistake under braking by David Walton, only to make one himself at the Melbourne hairpin the very next corner. So Sean Balfe does go down a place. Edward Horner leads it then, there he is, 20. Bart Hayden 2nd. 3rd, Nigel Taylor. 4th, Simon Jackson. 5th, John Grant. 6th now, John Ingram. And 7th place, number 7, Sean Balfe. Riding with Balfe. Down the Craner curves. Here we go, looking for a way down the left-hand side, down the right-hand side, riding over the curbs. Under braking, trying to force a mistake into the old hairpin. Down the gearbox he comes, neatly done. Slides, holds it, power on all the way through Schwantz curve. Through goes the leader, Bart Hayden, not close enough to challenge at the moment, but safely ahead of Nigel Taylor as well. Safely, unless he makes a minuscule error, that is, in which case Nigel Taylor will be right by him. John Grant slipping back a little bit, but behind Grant, here's this battle. Mark Humphrey comes past, number 2. Well, he actually qualified quicker than Sean Balfe, but Balfe got a much better start. Humphrey now reasserting himself. But look at this, coming alongside is 85. Clive Richards, one of the regular front runners, only qualified 17th. Balfe on the inside, under braking, trying to hold on. They trying desperately to avoid contact there. Richards had the better of the two lines, going through the chicane there side by side, and out ahead he came. Well, this is where it all started to go wrong for Sean Balfe last lap. Much better entry this time, goes in wide, comes out tight, still using the curb, but Richards starting to pull away from him now. Well, Sean Balfe doesn't quite seem to have the car set up for this Donington Park circuit today. The way that the others streamed by him, he lost 3 places there in 1 lap. Sean Balfe possibly nursing a setup problem, trying to find a way of driving around it. Clive Richards diving down the inside into Redgate. Nothing wrong with the setup of his machine now, that's for sure. Passes Mark Humphrey. The lead trio now closing. Being pushed along here by 81 Nigel Taylor. Bart Hayden, we ride with him now, is also much closer to Edward Horner than we've seen him since they resumed racing several laps ago. So there is Hayden, seen from the outside. Edward Horner just ahead of him. Nigel Taylor right there as well. Those 3 locked together. Simon Jackson, number 11, trying to close on them. And I rather fancy that Nigel Taylor is bored of being 3rd now. He's having a look at Bart Hayden. Can't go down the right. Bart Hayden is now moving to cover the left. Almost ideal racing line Hayden's able to assume, because Taylor doesn't look down the inside. Right again, down the Melbourne loop, down to the Melbourne hairpin. How wide is he going to leave the door open? Compromises the line, and there's a space down the inside, and sure enough a Caterham appears. So Bart Hayden compromises his line to try and get good braking into the hairpin and try not to leave the door too wide open. And Nigel Taylor slid down the inside and stays ahead. Taylor to 2nd, Hayden to 3rd. Peter Matthews, number 8, under pressure from number 10, Ross Maxwell. Maxwell leaving big darkies as he exits the corner there. Simon Jackson now slides by Bart Hayden. Hayden comes back at him through Redgate, down the Craney curves, riding with Hayden. Jackson's alongside, just out of sight. Now he's in sight as Bart Hayden grabs top gear. Simon Jackson goes through. Down the gearbox they come, on the brakes for Old Hairpin. Accelerating again. Bart Hayden closing. This time Jackson kicked up a little bit of dust, running wide out of the Old Hairpin. Bart Hayden has got very good momentum. Now Bart Hayden in with a chance here if he can force Simon Jackson into a mistake of taking back his 3rd place. But all the while, the leaders getting away. Edward Horner now starting to ease away, and these battles continue on down the field. David Walton having a look, and now Grant is under pressure for his place. Sean Balfe, we ride with him. You can just see the blue front fenders of John Grant's machine. Sean Balfe right with him, trying to go the long way. Around the outside, oh dear. Had to collect it all. It all went a little bit pear-shaped there for Sean Balfe. So John Grant holds on to his position at the moment, but John Grant, like Sean Balfe, is slipping down the order. Here is the 2nd place battle. Nigel Taylor fights off Simon Jackson, or does he? No, Jackson has a better line. Comes out of the corner slightly stronger. Nigel Taylor just forced to lift and steer a little wide there. And Simon Jackson moves up into 2nd. Well, Edward Horner now perhaps under threat. Simon Jackson a little fishtail as they go through Redgate, and he drops a wheel off the road. Here we go. Peter Matthews on the inside, Ross Maxwell on the outside. Oh, and another avoidance there from Ross Maxwell. Let's ride with Sean Balfe. Okay, following John Grant. Ahead of him, John Ingram, number 4. And then ahead of him, Mark Humphrey, and ahead of him, David Walton. Replay here of Goddard's. Peter Matthews and Ross Maxwell getting together. Maxwell survives. Matthews hoping the pit wall doesn't come too close, and saved. The repair bill saved there. Now then, Sean Balfe on the tail of this queue, but John Grant has moved up past John Ingram and is really squeezing Ingram to try and shut the door. And this could be a chance for Sean Balfe if they hold themselves up. Balfe went in wide and hoping to come out and get a better line, but doesn't find a way past either of them. So Grant ahead. Grant goes down the inside now, and Ingram has to steer wide. No room still for Sean Balfe. How frustrating this is for the driver of the number 7 machine. This battle ahead, slowing them both down. He's being slowed down, but he can't find a way past. Will he this time? Yes, Sean Balfe goes down the inside. Can he hold it? No, he doesn't pick up a place again. Oh, yes, finally, though, he does. John Grant overcooks it under braking. Powers it round, a la Jean Lacey on the grass. Well, he'll have to find somewhere else to rejoin. Oh, and a lap later, around goes number 10, Ross Maxwell. Escaped last time. Oh dear, and just see the power of that 2-litre Vauxhall smoking the tyres. So, last time round now. Edward Horner leads Simon Jackson, leads Nigel Taylor. Jackson with cars ahead of him and to the rear. Last gasp effort for Sean Balfe, surely not down the inside. Oh no, there wasn't room and he knew it. Well saved by Sean Balfe. But Ingram escapes that one. John Ingram keeps his place. So here is the leader then. Edward Horner led from pole position, unusually for a Caterham Vauxhall race, all the way. Edward Horner takes the checkered flag as victor. Simon Jackson second. Nigel Taylor in third place. There's Bart Hayden fourth, and the blue car of Clive Richards crosses the line in fifth place ahead of Walton, Humphrey, Ingram, Balfe. Big scrap there behind them for the lower placings in the top 10. So there was the winner, Edward Horner, and a convincing margin of victory indeed, a whole second over Simon Jackson at the end of it. And Clive Richards, by virtue of a great race there, continues as the championship leader. Round 10 of the Caterham Vauxhall Challenge at Cadwell Park in Lincolnshire. Away they go then, this packed field. And riding with Paul Kite, streaming down the straight into the uphill left-hander at Coppice, and then feeding over the brow right through Charlie's. Down Park Straight they come next, using the full woodland circuit here, including the daunting mountain section. Simon Jackson challenging for the lead. Slow away from the line, Sean Balfe ahead of him, David Walton astern, and we ride in around 8th place as we come up into the right-hander at Park. Little short shoot exiting that and into Chris Curve, the right-hander that sends us downhill through the daunting gooseneck. And at the speeds they're going in these Caterham Vauxhalls, it certainly is a daunting corner. Down the bottom of the hill they come through Mansfield. Simon Jackson still chasing for the lead. Sean Balfe out front there in the Travis Perkins car. Balfe holding on from Jackson. David Walton giving it everything he can in third place in these early laps, and we just saw our cameraman Paul Kite fly through. Here he is now over the mountain. It all gets light through Hall Bends, and then hard braking as they dip down right-handed through the hairpin. Clive Richards in fourth place, chasing David Walton, but still out front Sean Balfe as they come over the line at the end of the lap. Balfe from Jackson, from Walton. Clive Richards in fourth, and up into sixth place is Edward Horner. A good getaway from him, riding again with our second placed pole man Simon Jackson. Sean Balfe up ahead using all the road, and you can see how the cars dance around here. These Caterham Vauxhalls with around 200 brake horsepower and no aerodynamic wings to slow them down. Very quick indeed, but pretty twitchy. Simon Jackson masters it as he grabs the lead. Sean Balfe in second place now. David Walton with the yellow front end to his car, very close indeed. And a great view of Cadwell Park, one of the most demanding driver circuits in Britain. Plunging down the hill again. Still Walton in third place, still Clive Richardson in fourth there, the blue car, getting a little bit of a wiggle on. Riding with 17, Paul Kite. chasing down in the midfield, and a big slide. Simon Jackson really trying hard. Now the mountain, over the crest they go. Here the engine revs soar as the rear wheels come off the ground as well. He's really pushing very, very hard indeed, but so is Sean Balfe, so is David Walton, so is Clive Richards right behind him. Then 16, another good start from Bart Hayden to hold on to 5th place ahead of Edward Horner. But oh dear, there's his dad Hugh in trouble on the wet grass, and traction with 200 brake horsepower and those small tyres is not going to be the easiest thing to find. Well, Hugh Hayden heading down the order, but Bart Hayden working his way up it now. He is in 4th place. There he is in the orange car and chasing Sean Balfe, because a challenge for the lead being mounted by David Walton. Out braking himself, Jackson runs out of road, Walton's through, Jackson rejoins, oh, a big collision, and Edward Horner gets caught as well, number 20. Edward Horner clouts the spinning Mark Humphrey. Paul Kite tries to sort it all out, just manages to do so without damage. But a big heart-in-the-mouth moment for all 3 drivers involved there, I'm sure. Goodness me, very bad luck indeed for everybody getting caught out there as Simon Jackson came back on. He's still in it, but let's look again how it happened. Jackson trying to push too hard, offline, outbrakes himself, runs out of road, off the brakes here, sorts it out, full power. But then as he gets grip on the curb, spat onto the track right in the path of number 2, Mark Humphrey. Humphrey had nowhere to go, and Edward Horner almost mounting the bank there as he goes up the inside, still can't avoid the spinning number 2. Well, and it looked as though, yes, Paul Kite did in fact get hit there just at the end of it all. So very, very unfortunate incident indeed for those 2 guys. But look at it, Jackson with only 1 mudguard now seemingly on his car, still continuing in 4th place. So Paul Kite coming back around the track, still attacking hard. The car seems to be in one piece, and so while it is, he might as well give it everything it's got. Walton in 2nd place, had to get out of the throttle there obviously in that little incident, and Sean Balfe ahead of him, but Walton will not give this one up now. I can't believe how superbly Simon Jackson has recovered from this. Jackson now haranguing Bart Hayden for 3rd place. So Sean Balfe, David Walton, Bart Hayden, Simon Jackson, the same 4. We've had a 2-car pile-up around the change of leadership, and still Jackson is involved in it. Doesn't really seem fair, does it? Quite honestly, it was his mistake that put 2 others out, but that's the way that motor racing goes. So here they come. Sean Balfe, David Walton battle. Bart Hayden just inching out a couple of extra metres ahead of Simon Jackson. Well, Sean Balfe now feeling the pressure that David Walton was applying to Simon Jackson over the last 3 or 4 laps. And Jackson will know this scene very well indeed, because Walton is replicating the move he made on Jackson. This time he doesn't have to wait for Sean Balfe to outbrake himself. He makes the move early enough, goes past, but so does Jackson. Jackson picks up a place in exactly the same manner at the same spot from Bart Hayden. Paul Kite still going hard, still trying to catch the group ahead of him. Damon Dance there losing a wing. And this is close racing all the way, isn't it? Fantastic stuff. And look at this, they're coming around Hugh Hayden. He is unable to help his son. Hugh Hayden trying desperately to stay out of the way as they queue up behind. But that's a very good break indeed for the leader. David Walton is the first ahead of this bottleneck now. And Hugh Hayden has nowhere to go around this tight woodland circuit section. He has to come to a halt to allow the leaders to go through. Very self-sacrificing piece of driving. There's almost nowhere there where it's 2 cars wide. So David Walton catching him very fortunately there just before it became too late to pass. Bart Hayden now down into 3rd as Simon Jackson streams onwards. On the final lap they go, the leaders. The tail enders still working their way round to the 1 lap to go signs. Riding with Paul Kite, passing Hugh Hayden. Hugh not really having a very good time of it at all here at Cadwell. Paul Kite just saying thanks a lot for giving me room there. Down the gearbox he goes, turns in on the power, nicely controlled slide. Classic Caterham cornering options here. Change down off the brakes, steer it in and then power it out with the throttle. But look at this, halfway round the last lap, David Walton leads, but all his advantage gobbled up already by Simon Jackson. Right with them, still Sean Balfe, still Bart Hayden. And Simon Jackson really ready to make a go of this. John Ingram on the tail of this group. Simon Jackson under pressure. David Walton may have enough of a margin here. Over the mountain, Walton just pulled out a little bit more of a breathing space. Jackson very sideways indeed as Sean Balfe makes the challenge. This is going to be a real drag race for the line. David Walton will win it, but he'll be second. It could be any one of the last four drivers, and so close. Simon Jackson takes it. Jackson taking second place. Third place, Sean Balfe there. And Bart Hayden and John Ingram almost a photo finish, and there'll be a bit more of that as well before the race is over. Well, a very happy David Walton celebrating his victory over Simon Jackson. A good fight from him. Clive Richards, though, still leading the series after 10 rounds. So to Donington Park for the final ever Caterham Vauxhall Challenge race, the 11th and final round of the 1997 series. David Walton grabbing pole position on the last lap of qualifying. Walton, a man who has raced in every single Caterham Vauxhall race. Alongside him, number 81, Nigel Taylor, disappointed to be just pipped at the post by 0.2 of a second in qualifying. Clive Richards is third place, the number 85 machine, and Simon Jackson in number 11 will line up alongside him. The same familiar faces at the front of the grid. So the crowd really in for a treat here as Caterham closes the Vauxhall engine racing chapter. Next year they'll be racing with 1.8 litre K-Series engines. Well, away we go from the start. Peter Matthews from the outside of row 3, heading down the inside with our camera. A little bit of trail braking from David Walton as he takes the lead comfortably. Nigel Taylor, the red car, in behind him, and then side by side it looks like Clive Richards and Peter Matthews dicing for third place. The yellow nose of Matthews comes ahead, so Matthews now up into third place. In fact, it was Simon Jackson. Clive Richards has been shoved further down the order as they kick up the dust, running on the way now up towards McLean's for the first time. So David Walton leading from pole position, but for how long? Behind him, Nigel Taylor, number 81. Third place now is our cameraman Peter Matthews, up from fifth, so a good stint up to the first corner from him. Side by side on the inside, 67 Jason Dance just passing number 18 Hugh Hayden, and opening the door for a couple of others as well as Hugh slides 3 places there going through Coppice. Coming down towards the end of the first lap and closing hard under braking is Matthews. Oh dear, that was perilously close indeed. And getting it wrong under braking there as well is Hayden. He's not having a very good opening lap. Forced somebody else out wide of him as he really lost places there. So the lead trio coming in together. Tyres smoking. Edward Horner in number 20 slides up into, I think, 5th place there into the corner as they start lap 2. Rushing down the Craner curves. Matthews using all the road to try and stay in contact with the lead pair. Walton, Taylor, Matthews, then Simon Jackson, then 85, that's Clive Richards. He's holding up this group behind him. Sean Balfe is there on the back of them, jumping from side to side, trying desperately to find a way through. And it's just not happening for him. Edward Horner is far too wise a driver to allow himself to be intimidated by Sean Balfe in that sort of a manner. So through come the leaders then, so close together you can barely tell them apart. The blue car, number 9, is 9th, that's John Grant. And 16, Bart Hayden now with number 10, Ross Maxwell, challenging him for 12th place. But here is the challenge for the lead. Nigel Taylor goes around the outside like he's turbo-powered. Similar battle, 3 abreast right behind them, but David Walton now showing us the new leader. And there behind them is our other cameraman, Peter Matthews, being passed by Clive Richards, and he in turn being passed by Simon Jackson, the number 11 machine. Hovering around right at the back of all this is the white machine of Paul Kite, trying desperately to find some track to use, but it's just chock full of Caterham Vauxhalls. Now, ahead of Matthews as we go down the hill is Simon Jackson. Jackson is in third place, and it looks as though he might be thinking about pulling away already. Clive Richards tries to come down the inside at the old hairpin, but there's no room for him. Here it is then, the battle between Matthews and Jackson. Matthews really attacking hard as they come up to McLean's. Oh dear, and heading into the pits, it's Hugh Hayden. Clive Richards now on the move around the outside of Simon Jackson, the number 11 and the number 85 side by side, and 81 and 1. Nigel Taylor to the left on the inside, David Walton to the right on the outside. Walton again concedes the corner and again tries to hold a tighter line on the exit. He manages it, but this time it's going to be a really tough battle to try and pull past Nigel Taylor. Drops in behind, trying to pick up a little bit of aerodynamic effect. Now he goes very wide. He wants to come in on the right line and slingshot past Taylor on the exit. Will it work? Well, Clive Richards hasn't had the chance to play that game on Simon Jackson, but running out of road there is Edward Horner. He's got his hand up, and the car is sagging down on the left front. Looks as though he's picked up a puncture somewhere. Pulls up on the side of the circuit, so Edward Horner out of that lead battle. David Walton still holding on in second place. Oh, big slide there for Peter Matthews. Just ahead of Paul Kite, ahead of him is Sean Balfe. So still in this lead battle, trying to drag his way back up onto the tail of Sean Balfe as they come up to McLean's. So Nigel Taylor leads, David Walton second, third place still Simon Jackson, but inside him as they both go to the inside line goes Clive Richards, and Sean Balfe now, as those two hold each other up, is right with them. He'll go down the inside, he'll go down the outside, whichever way he can. Great footage from Peter Matthews. This three abreast battle going on to brakes for the chicane. Matthews goes around the outside. Oh, he's all locked up. This could be trouble. Just about holds it together, goes across the grass. Oh my goodness me, he came right across the bows of Sean Balfe. Balfe, I think, must have known he was coming and just allowed him a little bit of room. Clever driving, avoiding the accident. Walton around the outside. Doesn't work for him at Redgate. Now down the inside, as Nigel Taylor is forced to run wide by having gone in too tight. Walton carrying momentum out of the corner, down the hill. Nigel Taylor still holding on ahead here. Walton didn't get him that time. Under braking, down to the old hairpin we go. No, he's not doing it there either. Clive Richards is in third place now. Simon Jackson down to fourth. There's Richards, the all blue car. Jackson with those turquoise wings. Riding with David Walton. There is the race leader. So Nigel Taylor comes towards us, Walton, Richards right with him, then a little break, maybe as much as 2 or 3 car lengths to Simon Jackson. Jackson in fourth place, Sean Balfe fifth, Paul Kite now, the number 17 machine in sixth place, and seventh place is number 8, Peter Matthews, our other camera car. So both of them in this slipstreaming battle, 8 cars coming down Starkey Straight and onto the brakes. This time David Walton outbrakes the leader, Nigel Taylor, and takes first place. Paul Kite now with our cameraman Peter Matthews behind him have both moved ahead of Sean Balfe. Look in Matthews' mirror, you can see Balfe's car dodging from side to side. There they are on the straight. Richards now up into second place. He did get past Nigel Taylor. Sean Balfe goes down the inside of our cameraman. There he is, slots in ahead exiting Redgate. Now can Matthews go and work his magic down the Craner curves? Sean Balfe still holding him off. Paul Kite, the white car, ahead of them. They're the lead quartet, just a couple of car lengths away from this three-way battle for fifth. And this is classic Caterham racing, absolutely at its best. The Donington Park circuit providing the ideal venue for these drivers. A fast, demanding course allows the cars to use all their power, all their handling, and the drivers to use their skill to handle the tail slides that the 2-litre 16-valve Vauxhall engines always produce under full throttle. Look at them drifting their way through the corner. Classic racing stance. And again, as they come onto the straight, David Walton's under threat, but this time it's not a red car, it's a blue car. It's Clive Richards. Richards slings past as they come onto braking for the chicane. So Richards, the championship leader, leading this race. Oh dear, in contact there. Matthews and Kite make contact. Matthews struggling for gears. Oh, water all over the road under his tyres. He can't find any grip. He must go to the pit surely. Terminally injured radiator, and he's out of the race. And the car's coming under control of the black and yellow flag now, being waved as they rescue Edward Horner's car from its position there. Yellow flags would normally have been used to prevent overtaking, but the clerk of the course hanging out the black and yellow flag to calm everybody down. And here we are at the chicane, a big impact there between Matthews and the rear of Paul Kite's car. Matthews just coming in far too hot, steaming in under braking and sliding around on his own water there as the radiator gushes its contents onto the road. So just one lap with racing brought under control, and away they go again now. Clive Richards still leading it as they go green again. So Richards the championship leader, but Sean Balfe, his rival, is in the same group as well. Richards stays ahead. Walton now comes inside, exiting Red Gate. A nice wide entrance gives him the tight line on the exit. It's classic Red Gate tactics. In deep or in wide, neither have the ideal way through. But this time Walton leads. Richards second, Nigel Taylor in third place, then Simon Jackson, then Sean Balfe, the number 7 machine. Behind him, Paul Kite. Paul Kite now with Bart Hayden behind him as well, the number 16 machine, closing in on this lead group. Walton still leading, Richards still second, Taylor still third. Now they've got Jackson in contact. There's Balfe, there's Kite, and there is the number 16 machine. So Hayden has really worked his way up the order here. And again, this duel coming into the braking area. Nigel Taylor doesn't quite get between them to make it 3 abreast, but he tyre smokes his way up into second place. Again, David Walton saw the unguided missile coming and allowed him to come in. A neat little sidestep from Walton avoids the incident. The race continues across the start-finish line and rushing down to Red Gate once more. Walton deep on the inside. Can't take the position there, and he's compromised his exit line as well. All 3 of them hugging the grass on the way in. Now hugging the grass on the way down the Crater curves. Just avoiding putting a wheel over onto the dirt there. Changing down, braking, and then accelerating hard through the old hairpin they come. Right behind Simon Jackson now is Bart Hayden. He is getting very close indeed. But here is the first, second and third place battle. These 3 cars with a couple of car lengths ahead of 4th place Simon Jackson. And just look at the way, if you watch the front wing in the corners, they're working on the steering, just balancing it on the steering and the throttle here. Touch of opposite lock and powering their way out. Full drive all the way through the corners. So Walton in third place, now giving us a grandstand view of the braking battle ahead of him. He's out wide to get the ideal line into the chicane. There's nobody near him, so he can do it. Will he get good drive out of the corner? Simon Jackson, Sean Balfe are close to him. And again, side by side, all the way down the straight. There's no room at all for David Walton to get involved in this one. Bart Hayden right behind Simon Jackson as they come into Red Gates. But let's go back to the lead trio. Again, Richards runs over the rumble strips but holds on to the lead. Nigel Taylor second, David Walton, our cameraman, in third place. Behind him, Simon Jackson and Bart Hayden. Hayden is very close indeed to the back of the number 11 machine. Then it's Sean Balfe. The Dayglow car of Jason Dance closing in on these group, and Guy Parry, number 55, closing down the leaders as well. This frantic battle means that anybody that breaks away from the group behind can lap faster on their own. Paul Kite is still in this group as well. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars cresting the rise almost as one. And there are a couple more breakaways trying to chase them down. 30 minutes duration for this last ever Caterham Vauxhall race gives them plenty of time to explore the opportunities available to them. David Walton goes in very deep. He's under pressure. That's why he went in so hot, because Simon Jackson was right with him. But Jackson's lost momentum, and it looks as though Bart Hayden will try and pass him. Somebody recovers from the grass. Ian Robertson, 97, and John Taylor, 31, again side by side through the chicane, echoing the lead battle. Clive Richards really pushing hard. Nigel Taylor in second place, and now David Walton worrying, I'm sure, about Bart Hayden behind him. Look how close the number 16 machine has come. Bart Hayden driving supremely well. Started well down the order in 11th place. Now he's challenging to get in amongst the lead trio. So Richards with the line astern behind him now. They're picking up the tow. They've got more revs. They slingshot along. It's almost three abreast. David Walton doesn't quite carry it that far. Is Bart Hayden inside him? No, he's not. He manages to turn in. And this time it's Nigel Taylor that's won the braking battle. Taylor leads. Richards second. Walton third. Looking for a way past. There is just nowhere to put a Caterham right now, except for on the outside, and that will allow Bart Hayden to go past him, so he won't be doing that. Richards back ahead again. This is an absolute lap charter's nightmare, the number of position changes in this race. And again, Clive Richards leads them down the crane of curves. Nigel Taylor second, then David Walton, Bart Hayden as one in third and fourth position. Still Simon Jackson from Sean Balfe in fifth and sixth. Sean Balfe picks up the fastest lap of the race, gets the extra points for that, but not enough to put him into the championship winning position if Clive Richards can hold on at the front of this field. And Richards is certainly showing every intention of doing so. He wants this 97 title, the last ever Caterham Vauxhall title, and he wants to win it in style. So Sean Balfe there at the back of the field. He can see the man he needs to beat. He just can't get with him. And Paul Kite, number 17, doing a little bit of rally crossing there. Forced to retire just before the end. Now they're on the final lap. Clive Richards down the crane of curves with a big advantage because there's a back marker. Tim Lawrence in the way. Clive Richards got past before they got to the crane of curves, before they got to the start of the lap. And the others have been held up, and now look at this, Nigel Taylor under pressure from David Walton. Taylor still in second place, the red nose marking him out, then Walton, number one in third place. Still Bart Hayden in that orange machine in fourth place, then Sean Balfe and Simon Jackson, they've swapped places. Balfe ahead now, Jackson trying to find that position back. So Sean Balfe, there he is, trying now to challenge Bart Hayden for fourth. This could all go down to the final run at the chicane, but Clive Richards will not be troubled unless he throws it off the road. Nigel Taylor with David Walton. Taylor not under pressure from a move here, and it looks as though Clive Richards is coming through the chicane to win the race and win the championship. He does it. Richards win. Nigel Taylor in second place from David Walton by half a nose. And there is the championship winner, the winner of the last ever Caterham Vauxhall race. A great result for Clive Richards. Nigel Taylor just second from David Walton. Sean Balfe getting the fastest lap with the Avon Award but not winning the championship. Clive Richards clinching it from Sean Balfe. Simon Jackson a fighting third place.
Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed that, yes. Made a bad start but made work of it, and didn't made a few too many errors, but the car went very well, and exciting race, one of the best races of the year actually.
Caterham racing really couldn't be much closer, could it?
No, they should be tied along with a piece of string together really. There's nothing in it, and I hope that Caterham moves on and keeps it competitive and as close for next year.